नहीं वो जो एक शीट है ना उसका कुछ करना पड़ेगा, वो किसी तरह याद करनी पड़ेगी सारी की सारी, जिसमें कलर्स वगैरह लिखे हुए हैं।
वो मैं भूल जाता हूँ, तो आपको शॉर्टकट नहीं है
उसमें
कोई
उसमें
कुछ
नहीं एक ही
निमोनिक्स हो या कुछ?
नहीं, उसका निमोनिक वगैरह तो कुछ नहीं है। मेन जो है ना वो है कि एक सेकंड। अच्छा मेन, चलो मेन जो चीज है ना उसमें वो वही है कि कॉपर सल्फेट का याद रख लो। कॉपर सबसे ज्यादा तो कॉपर सल्फेट के ऊपर वो पूछ रहे होते हैं। यानी अगर इफ आई ओपन द शीट, ठीक है कहाँ पे है, अ, जो डेटा शीट है, ठीक है, एसिड बेसिस सॉल्ट्स ओनली। अच्छा ये वाली। सो इन दिस द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट वन इज, सबसे ज्यादा वो कॉपर सल्फेट के ऊपर क्वेश्चंस आ रहे होते हैं। एनहाइड्रस वाइट होता है, वैसे वो ब्लू होता है। कोबाल्ट क्लोराइड के ऊपर भी आ जाता है कि वो पिंक होता है, और वाटर के साथ वो पिंक होता है, विदाउट वाटर इट्स ब्लू। तो मोस्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस अबाउट कॉपर सल्फेट एंड अबाउट कोबाल्ट क्लोराइड, ठीक है। बाकी ये सॉल्ट एनालिसिस के अंदर ना आपको कलर्स अलग याद रखने हैं, ये ज्यादा मुश्किल है कि I-1 इज येलो, ठीक है, ये सारा
जी।
कि NaOH डालोगे तो लाइट ब्लू प्रेसपेट बनेगा। तो 2 पेजेस ये तो कुछ भी करके ना मतलब याद करना है, वो इट हैज टू बी मेमोराइज्ड एट ऑल कॉस्ट। इसका बस ये ख्याल करना कि देयर इज अ मिस्टेक आई रोट, कि यहाँ पे इधर करेक्शन कर लेना कि इसके अंदर ना ये गलती है। मेक श्योर यू नो दिस कि दिस इज एक्चुअली कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड एंड दिस वन इज एक्चुअली वाटर, ठीक है। ये 2 मिस्टेक्स हैं, बाकी सब ठीक है।
ओके।
तो उसका कुछ कर लो कि निमोनिक्स नहीं है इसके, मतलब कलर्स के निमोनिक्स नहीं है। कुछ बना सकते तो बना लो, लेकिन अदरवाइज नहीं है। वो प्रैक्टिस करके ना बार बार, कॉपर सल्फेट जिसमें इट्स ब्लू ब्लू, ठीक है, वो वैसे वो वाइट होता है। कोबाल्ट क्लोराइड पिंक होता है, वाटर के साथ, वाटर के बगैर इट्स ब्लू, ठीक है। तो वो बार बार 2 पेजेस उनको बार बार देखते रहो, अपने साथ रखो, प्रिंट इट आउट, हर वक्त अपने साथ रखो, तो
ओके।
you'll eventually remember it। हमजा मैं सेंड करता हूँ, ठीक है, इस क्लास के बाद, ठीक है। अच्छा सो where's वो कहाँ गया, पेपर कहाँ गया? चलो पहले ये पेपर इधर से कर लेते हैं, एंड से स्टार्ट कर लेते हैं, ठीक है। वी कैन स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द एंड, ताकि मुश्किल क्वेश्चंस प्योर टेबल आपके पास होगा। एंड विल डू एन एडीपी क्वेश्चन एज वेल व्हिच वुड बी, कहाँ गए क्वेश्चंस? So let's start with this one. Okay, question number, अच्छा आपका क्वेश्चन नंबर ये जो है, question number 6. So first thing, propane. Remember, propane is an alkene. ठीक है, make sure it's an alkane. और alkanes का क्या होता है? It's got prop means 3 carbon atoms. Remember कि वो counting क्या होती है organic में? It's meth. Then you've got eth, you've got prop और ब्यूट, मतलब यहाँ तक आनी चाहिए। बाकी पेंट और आगे चलती रहती है वैसे, हेक्स, हेप्ट एंड ऑक्ट। Acha, what all these prefixes mean is the number of carbon atoms. So when it's prop, it means it's 3 carbon atoms. CK meth is 1 carbon atom, eth is 2 carbon atoms, prop is 3 carbon atoms, and so on. So prop is 3 carbon atoms, और alkane में सारे single bonds होते हैं, सारे के सारे H atoms होते हैं, ठीक है। और उसका एक ही रिएक्शन होता है जो उसने शो किया हुआ है, कार्बन मेक्स 4 bonds। तो उसका एक ही रिएक्शन होता है, एंड व्हाट हैपेंस इन दैट रिएक्शन इज कि यूवी लाइट, व्हाट टाइप ऑफ रिएक्शन इज दिस? दिस इज नोन एज अ सब्स्टिट्यूशन रिएक्शन। अच्छा, that's known as a substitution reaction. अच्छा, for organic chemistry what we can do in this class, especially in this class, is कि हम एक काम करते हैं कि what we can do is कि बोर्ड के ऊपर we can do a summary of all the organic reactions, ठीक है, once and for all के उसका एक चार्ट बना लेते हैं। of organic reactions. बस ये खुल जाए. अच्छा, so the chart could be made out of के आपके पास alkanes है, तो आपको थोड़ा बहुत आइडिया होना चाहिए कि what are alkanes, ठीक है? So you've got alkanes. उनका सिर्फ एक ही most of the time there's only one reaction, and that reaction is कि they turn into chlorine substituted compounds. ठीक है? So most of the time they just have one reaction, and that's known as a substitution. So that one is known as substitution. उसमें क्या होता है कि you need Cl2 और Br2, और साथ में एक condition होती है that you need UV light for that as well. तो you've got alkanes. Alkanes का general formula क्या होता है? CnH2n plus 2. ये वैसे याद कर लो कि what are alkanes? सारे single bonds. All of them are going to be single bonds, and they're going to be saturated hydrocarbons. ठीक है? तो अगर मैं एक alkane का example लूँ ना, let's say I have ethane, 2 carbon atoms. तो substitution में क्या होता है? Substitution के अंदर what happens is कि ये सारे H atoms इसके साथ draw कर लो. अच्छा, substitution के अंदर what happens is कि ये chlorine या bromine, ठीक है, you take this molecule और इसको ना copy paste कर लो यहाँ पे, और इनमें से ना एक H की जगह ना any one of the H और all of the H, जितने मर्जी H, उनकी जगह Cl आ जाएगा या फिर Br आ जाएगा. ठीक है? ये चीजें बीच में आके उनके साथ अटैच हो जाएंगी. So that is what substitution is. और अच्छा, that's substitution. फिर उसके बाद alkanes का एक और रिएक्शन होता है कि long chain hydrocarbons are broken down into smaller chains. That's known as cracking. So make sure you remember what cracking is. Cracking के अंदर ना, और जरूरी नहीं है कि अच्छा, that's known as cracking. You use high temperatures and a catalyst. ठीक है? और इसमें क्या होता है कि long chains are broken down, big molecules are broken down into smaller chains. They turn into smaller alkanes and alkenes and hydrogen gas. So, but anyways, you're going to get alkenes. Alkenes are hydrocarbons as well. The only difference is it's going to be Cn. It's going to be CnH2n. ठीक है? That's what alkenes are. ठीक है? They're going to have double bonds. ठीक है? तो आपका जो molecule है ना, that might get broken down into a smaller molecule and might turn into an alkene. So it was quick cracking the revision, although you usually don't do it for small alkanes. Bade molecules hote hain, they are not very flammable, they're viscous and they have high melting and boiling point. So you break them down into smaller molecules which are way more flammable. ठीक है? They burn easily. अच्छा, उसके बाद alkenes के ढेर सारे reactions है. Alkenes के लिए you have a reaction. One second. अच्छा, alkenes के लिए you have a reaction in which what happens is that they turn into alcohols. तो आपका यही जो alkene है ना, एल्कीन के जितने भी रिएक्शंस होते हैं दे विद डबल बॉन्ड्स, ठीक है। यही जो डबल बॉन्ड है, you add water to it. So when you add water to it, phosphoric acid is the catalyst that's used, and 60 atmosphere is the pressure, or 300 degrees centigrade temperature. So this thing turns into an alcohol. Alcohol का मतलब है कि it turns into मतलब वो जो आपका एल्कीन नहीं था उसके साथ H और OH ऐड हो जाएंगे। तो एक जगह H ऐड हो जाएगा और एक जगह पे OH ऐड हो जाएगा, ठीक है। So it will turn into an alcohol. The same alkene you can brominate it. What that means is कि it can undergo bromination. So this one is known as the name of this reaction is, the first one is hydration. They're all known as addition reactions. The second one that we're writing down right now is bromination. अच्छा, bromination में क्या होता है? You add Br2 aqueous. So you add Br2 aqueous. So the bromine gets added to the alkene. अच्छा, इन सारे रिएक्शंस की ना they have a lot of importance के यहाँ पे ना ब्रोमीन और ब्रोमीन ऐड हो जाएंगे। जहां पे भी डबल बॉन्ड नजर आएगा ना there'll be bromine atoms getting added to it. And there's one more which is hydrogenation. Hydrogenation में what happens is कि उल्टा रिएक्शन होता है कि what happens is कि the alkene, अच्छा, so the alkene turns back into an alkane. That's hydrogenation. So this one over here is hydrogenation. इसमें क्या होता है? निकल प्लस H2 ऐड हो जाता है, and the temperature is around 150. Yeah, 150 degrees centigrade. That's the temperature that's used in the reaction. And what double bonds, the H atoms are attached back to it. ठीक है, तो ये सारे alkenes के reactions हैं, इनको याद रखना है कि alkenes undergo hydration and bromination and hydrogenation. There's one more reaction which is कि polymers बनते हैं and they form addition polymers. ठीक है, addition polymers are formed. जिसके लिए you need high temperature and pressure. तो all these alkenes they sort of join up. यानी अगर आपके पास इथीन का मॉलिक्यूल होगा ना, so what will happen is lots of ethene molecules, n number of ethene molecules. हाँ, इसका मैं लिंक शेयर करूंगा, मैं बना रहा हूँ इसलिए। So all of them would start linking up. तो डबल बॉन्ड बीच में से चला जाएगा और ये इस तरह के ना आपस में ब्रैकेट जस्ट शोस के जस्ट रिपीटिंग कॉन्टिन्यूअसली कि they'll just continue to get attached to themselves. वो दोबारा से एक इथीन का मॉलिक्यूल होगा, डबल बॉन्ड बीच में से that will go away and this would just keep on repeating n number of times. ठीक है, तो ये alkenes के reactions हैं और फिर alcohols के कर लो कि alcohols का एक ही mostly reaction था. One of them is dehydration. So dehydration is the opposite of hydration. कि डिहाइड्रेशन में ना आप वापस अच्छा डिहाइड्रेशन में आप वापस अल्कीन बनाते हो. सो दैट्स द एग्जैक्ट ऑपोजिट. वो डबल बॉन्ड वापस आ जाता है. So that one is dehydration. Dehydration, and what happens is you need Al2O3 plus you need to heat it. Or you could also use concentrated H2SO4. So same चीज होगी. What will happen is कि वो H और OH add हुए थे, now they'll get removed again. So it will turn back into an alkene. वापस alkene बन जाएगा. फिर alcohols के further reactions थे कि alcohols के reaction थे कि one was how do you make alcohols. एक reaction था कि उसको glucose से बनाओ, ठीक है. एक तो वो reaction था कि alkene से बन जाता है, and one of the reaction was कि उसको glucose से form करो, ठीक है. That was known as fermentation. कि आप इसकी ना fermentation करो. उसके लिए ना absence of oxygen होना चाहिए था, anaerobic conditions, and glucose is C6H12O6. और alkene fermentation करनी है और alkene बन जाएगा. And another thing about that is you need a temperature of 25 to 35 degrees centigrade, and you need phosphoric acid. नहीं, phosphoric acid तो नहीं चाहिए इसमें. That's about it. But you need yeast. That's the most important thing. You need that as a catalyst. ठीक है? That's known as fermentation. So this is fermentation. And fermentation का था कि at a higher temperature or lower temperature, the yeast, because it's a biological thing, it stops working. ज़्यादा temperature के ऊपर yeast मर जाती है, कम temperature के ऊपर yeast inactive होती है, and the yield is very bad. ठीक है, मतलब बहुत कम ethanol बनता है. Why? Because alcohol जो होता है, that's a disinfectant, so वो yeast को मार देता है as soon as it is produced. So it's got a terrible yield. ठीक है, इसकी पूरी डिटेल रिएक्शन की कि आप अल्कोहल को ना डिस्टिलरीज होती हैं जहां पे डिस्टिलेशन होती है, you remove the alcohol that way, and then you had a reaction where alcohols would get oxidized to carboxylic acid. That was another one. Okay, alcohol would turn into and this was oxidation. इसके लिए आप क्या करते थे? You would add KMNO4, acidified, and reflux. Oxidation is a process where oxygen gets added. So plus reflux, and you could also use K2Cr2O7. In दोनों के color changes are written in the data booklet I've already shared with you. So that is oxidation, and what happens in oxidation is कि ये जो molecule यहाँ पे है ना, ठीक है, this molecule, this molecule over here turns into a carboxylic acid. It turns into a carboxylic acid, which is double bond O and OH. That's the functional group of a carboxylic acid. So it turns into this thing. And that is what happens. It turns into a carboxylic acid. So ज़्यादातर reaction तो यही है. ठीक है, most of the reactions that you have over here are these. There's another reaction कि once you have carboxylic acids, then what can happen is that these carboxylic acids can form esters. How can they form esters? बल्कि arrow यहाँ से बना लेते हैं. They can be involved in ester formation, that you can add a carboxylic acid to an alcohol, or concentrated H2SO4 is used. And reflux. Or vice versa, what you could do is if you have a carboxylic acid, you can turn it into an ester by adding an alcohol. ये दोनों reaction का एक ही मतलब है. And reflux. So that is what will happen, and The opposite can also happen. बल्कि इस वाले को साइड पे कर लेते हैं. I mean, it's just a repetition of the same reaction, so we can get rid of this one. इसको थोड़ा सा extend कर लें. So the other thing is you can also break down an ester back into carboxylic acid and alcohol. And the way that can happen is ठीक है, तो वापस hydrolysis. ठीक है, that's known as hydrolysis. So the reaction and it can be alkaline. Either it's NaOH plus reflux, or it's acid hydrolysis, sulfuric acid plus reflux. And you get the alcohol and carboxylic acid back again. और the salt, alkaline conditions में होता था carboxylic acid उसके साथ react कर जाता था. And then you had condensation polymers, जो एक completely अलग चीज थी. ये तो main reactions थे, ठीक है, which you should know about the conditions, etc., every detail about those reactions. And then there was condensation polymerization as well. ठीक है, वो अलग से 3 types के condensation polymers थे. You had polyamides, polyesters, and you had complex carbohydrates. ठीक है, तो वो 3 चीजें भी ना आपने याद रखनी है. I'll build on this. ठीक है, I'll send you a more detailed version of this, but make sure you remember कि कौन सा reaction क्या करेगा. ठीक है, तो going back to the question, कि हम यहाँ पे वापस जाए ना, उसका मैं लिंक शेयर कर देता हूँ, उसको बल्कि कंप्लीट करके ना I'll share the link. ठीक है. What conditions needed for the photochemical reaction? Remember, it's an alkane reacting with Cl2. So I'll just have a look at a peek at this thing. Okay, what are the conditions that are needed? Alkanes के अंदर अगर Cl add करना, what you need is you just need Cl2 or Br2 with UV light. That's it. So what is the condition that's needed? It's ultraviolet light. You need Cl2 plus you would need ultraviolet light. फिर isomers draw करने, C3H7Cl के. Isomers are molecules having the same molecular formula, but they have different structural formula. So C3H7Cl. So you could have 2 molecules. One is that the Cl could be at the end. 3 carbon atoms, the Cl could be on the middle carbon atom. और बाकी H add कर दो. ठीक है, so you'll have these 2 isomers. Okay, the Cl की position change कर दो. ठीक है, so the isomers are molecules having the same formula, but the structure is different. They both look different. Is this clear? ये clear है?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then you've got the next one. State why this is an addition reaction. Now he's talking about propene and chlorine is getting added. ये कौन सा reaction है? It's the reaction that we just did. Alkenes के सारे reactions जो है ना वो addition reactions होते हैं कि chlorine के साथ भी यही reaction होगा. ठीक है, और so I'm just going to drop this. अच्छा, chlorine के साथ भी it's going to be the same reaction. ठीक है, तो उसको हम ब्रैकेट में डाल लेते हैं. ठीक है, you'll have the same reaction with chlorine. कि जहां पे भी double bond होगा ना, the bromine or the chlorine or any of the halogens will just simply get added to the carbon atoms, or double bond गायब हो जाएगा. So the same thing would happen over here. If you have a propene, अच्छा, why is it an addition reaction? Because Cl2 gets added and you get exactly one molecule. So what's happening in this reaction is this is propene. It has a double bond. Prop is 3 carbon atoms. Every carbon atom must make 4 bonds. And since it's an alkene, क्योंकि नाम कह रहा है कि it's an alkene, it's going to have double bonds. तो जब addition reaction होगा, what would happen? जब chlorine add होगा तो double bond खत्म हो जाएगा और इन दोनों carbon atom के साथ chlorine atoms will get added to it. That is C3H6Cl2. Is this clear? ये clear है?
Yes, sir.
अच्छा फिर अगला part. ये वो enthalpy change का question आ गया. Remember in enthalpy change what happens is I told you in detail that whenever there's a reaction you have 2 molecules, and the first thing is you have to give them energy so that they come in at high speeds and they bump into each other. It's very important. Okay? Most reactions will not happen. You have to give them energy so that they're capable of bumping into each other. That is known as activation energy. Some minimum energy is needed at the start of the reaction. जब आप matches जलाते हो ना, why do you strike the match? वो इसीलिए करते हो ताकि पुराने bonds टूटे. So activation energy is the minimum energy that is needed to start the. I said needed to start a reaction. So that's the minimum energy that's needed. Now, क्योंकि पुराने bonds तोड़ने होते हैं. Now, in this case, if you look at this reaction, शुरू में कितनी energy चाहिए? Yes. So one क्या question है?
Sir,
हाँ जी.
अब वो आप screen share कर देंगे, आपकी screen stuck हो गया.
बाकी और screen नजर आ रही है?
जी सर.
अब सही हो गया, अब हो गया सही.
ठीक है. So this one, ये थोड़ा सा वो energy का कर ले energetics का कि हमेशा जब भी कोई reaction होता है ना, there is activation energy, some energy needed at the start. Molecules को मतलब आपके इर्द-गिर्द air है, वो molecules आपके साथ क्यों नहीं react कर रहे? वो इसलिए react नहीं कर रहे क्योंकि they're bumping into you. ठीक है, आपके इर्द-गिर्द ना they're small, इस तरह कह लो कि छोटी-छोटी गेंदें हैं, ठीक है, that's air. And they're constantly bumping into you, but they're not bumping into you with enough force. Reaction कब होता है? जब high temperature होता है. Let's say कोई bomb blast होगा तो आपकी body जो है ना वो react करेगी. Why would it react then? क्योंकि वो जो आपके इर्द-गिर्द molecule है ना, they're now at very high temperatures. वो जो small छोटी-छोटी balls type वो structures जो है ना वो घूम रहे हैं ना. तो when there's high temperature, why does it react with your skin? क्योंकि they come in with enough force. They're very energetic and they bump into your skin and they break the bonds in your skin. ठीक है? So the point is कि reactions happen when there is high energy. ठीक है? They have to bump into each other with a lot of force. That's when your reactions usually take place. तो इसमें कितने bonds तोड़ने पड़ेंगे for this reaction to happen? For this reaction to happen, what you can do is कि you can either break all the bonds. So how many bonds are being broken? वो count कर लो. मैं उनके साथ tick लगाई जा रहा हूँ, ठीक है? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So C और H के कितने bonds हैं? C और H के I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 bonds इसके तोड़ने हैं. You have to break a C, single bond C, that's 1. And you have to break a serial bond C. Bonds तोड़ने के लिए energy चाहिए होती है, that's endothermic, that's all positive. और फिर साथ ही नए bonds form होंगे. हाँ जी.
Are all the bonds always broken?
I mean, not all, but the easy way is, for example, in this reaction, you don't actually have to break all the bonds. But the easy way is counting थोड़ी सी आसान होती है. If you just break all the bonds and then you make all the bonds. Like first all the bonds are
Okay.
broken and then the new bonds are formed. So how many bonds are formed over here? तो ये molecule बना है. That's CH. I think there's 6 CH bonds, right? That are formed. And there are 2 C bonds that are formed. CCl के भी 2 bonds form हुए. Right? These are the bonds that are formed. Bonds that are formed are exothermic. ठीक है, remember that. कि पहला part जो होता है ना, that is endo. You need energy to break bonds. The next part is exo. उधर हमेशा एनर्जी जो है ना वो रिलीज होती है. तो वहां पे ना एनर्जी gets released. Now, one thing is you can simplify this. For example, you can simplify this. कि 6 CH bonds were broken and 6 CH bonds were formed. इनकी एनर्जी जो होगी वो तो कैंसिल आउट हो जाएगी. ठीक है. अच्छा, what else would get cancelled out? ये बाकियों हम ऐसे सिंप्लीफाई कर लेते हैं कि CC is 347, so it's 347 times 1. C double bond C is 612, and that's also times 1. So those are the bonds that are broken, minus the bonds that are formed. CC के 2 form हुए, so that's 347 times 2. और CCl के भी ना 2 form हुए, which is this one, 339. It's 347 था. 339 times 2. तो ये मेरे पास आ गया bond broken और bond formed. Remember, bond formed सारे जो है ना वो exothermic है. That all should be negative. वो सारा negative में होना चाहिए. तो अब इसका बताओ कि क्या वैल्यू आ रही है. कोई जल्दी से कैलकुलेटर पे बता दे क्या आ रहा है.
-413.
ठीक है. सो उसने अलग अलग किया. एनर्जी नीडेड तो हमने तो ओवरऑल निकाल लिया.
And so
Minus-
another thing. In the middle of the brackets, will it be a plus or a minus? It's a plus, right?
ये वाला in the middle of the bracket, that's plus. I mean, basically you're summing all of this
Okay.
up, right? So
Yes,
what
sir.
you have to do is these things would have a minus sign because it's exothermic. This
Yeah.
sign has a positive. I just took the minus sign outside, so the inside
Okay,
became
okay.
all plus. ठीक है.
Good.
So ये बताओ कि ये क्या होगा. अब ये तो आ गया. ठीक है. Remember, all energetics questions would be done this way. Every time you have a reaction, तो उसका एनर्जी प्रोफाइल डायग्राम क्या होता है. It's like this. कि शुरू में एनर्जी रिएक्टेंट्स होते हैं. शुरू में एनर्जी इज गेन्ड and then energy is released. So you've got reactants and you've got products. ये axis जो है ना, that's the energy axis. Every time what happens is that energy is gained क्योंकि पुराने bonds तोड़ने हैं. फिर energy is released because new bonds are formed. So every time you have a reaction similar to this. और ये किस तरह decide होता है कि overall it's exothermic or endothermic. It all depends on these two things. If more energy is needed to break the bonds, then the reaction is endothermic. If more energy is released during bond formation, then the reaction is exothermic. Is that clear? Clear? Vasna, is this clear? Subhan?
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, उससे अगला है कि homologacies बतानी है कि C double bond C, that's an alkene, easy. OH, that's an alcohol. COH, that's a carboxylic acid. अच्छा, what would you observe when compound A is added to bromine, aqueous bromine? Remember वो किधर गया हमारा chart. A is an alkene. ठीक है. Alkene double bonds के साथ ना अगर bromine add करोगे, what would happen is कि the bromine will get added. Or it's a test for unsaturation. ठीक है. Or you can say it's a test for alkenes. और इसमें क्या होता है. Bromine is orange या red brown. So Br2 gets decolorized. Br2, which is red brown, it is decolorized. So what would you observe when compound is added to aqueous bromine towards red brown bromine decolorizes? अच्छा कार्बोनेट के साथ क्या रिएक्शन होगा इसका ए का ए में तीनों चीजें हैं ये जो कंपाउंड है उसमें तीनों चीजें हैं तो it's got an acid as well तो एसिड में क्या होगा दिस इज द एसिड और कार्बोनेट क्या बनाते हैं सॉल्ट वाटर एंड कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड So what would you observe? Observe के अंदर नजर क्या आएगा? तो you'll see bubbles of CO2 being formed. Right? Is this clear? Clear? So you had a molecule जिसके अंदर तीनों चीजें थी. अच्छा, compound A can be used as a single monomer to produce two different polymers. Draw one repeat unit of the addition polymer formed. So addition polymers हमने alkenes का किया था. तो उसमें क्या होता है कि इसी तरह का मॉलिक्यूल रिपीट होना शुरू हो जाता है व्हाट हैपेंस इज एडिशन हैपेंस कि यू हैड आई थिंक CH2OH here और यहाँ पे ना देयर वाज अ कार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड और यहाँ पे देयर वाज HNH तो एडिशन पॉलीमर्स में क्या होता है कि द सेम थिंग जस्ट कीप्स ऑन रिपीटिंग एंडलेसली कि यहाँ पे देयर वाज कार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड यू हैड NH अच्छा और क्या होगा कि द डबल बॉन्ड रिमेंबर अल्कीन्स के सारे रिएक्शंस इसी तरह द डबल बॉन्ड्स विल ब्रेक एंड दे विल ऑल स्टार्ट जॉइनिंग अप विद ईच अदर तो आपका ये पॉलीमर बन जाएगा एडिशन पॉलीमर ठीक है एंड व्हाट टाइप ऑफ तो उससे क्या वन रिपीट यूनिट ऑफ द एडिशन पॉलीमर फिर उससे क्या टाइप ऑफ कंडेंसेशन पॉलीमर तो ये सारा ना हम go through कर लेते सारा मेमोराइज करना है ठीक है the first thing is about addition polymers तो हमने कर लिए इसका कर लेते हैं एक सेकेंड अच्छा condensation polymerization अच्छा here's an example of a condensation polymer कि आपके पास दो मोनोमर्स होते हैं ठीक है दिस इज वन एग्जांपल ऑफ अ कंडेंसेशन पॉलीमर और बल्कि सारी उधर लिख लेते हैं वहां पे मतलब ये कंडेंसेशन पॉलीमर तो मैंने किया था but I'll just write all of them over here the first type of condensation polymer is known as so that one is known as number one polyester अच्छा polyester में क्या होता है polyester में what happens is remember what a polymer is polymer में ना छोटे छोटे molecules they all combine join up and they form a big molecule so I've got this box and this box over here किसको अच्छा so अच्छा I have this box it's a molecule that has it could be any molecule so this box could be anything but the molecule has OH groups on both sides and here's another box so that's a molecule but that molecule has whatever that molecule is we don't care but the molecule has carboxylic acid groups on both sides अच्छा ये आपके पास दो तरह के मोनोमर्स हैं and these monomers are going to repeat तो ये यहाँ पे दोबारा से रिपीट हो रहे हैं और वो बस रिपीट होते जाएंगे what would happen is condensation would happen. Water molecules are going to be produced. OH and H will get removed. OH and H will get removed. The OH from the carboxylic acid, the H from the alcohol will get removed. OH and H, when maybe or it's thousands of molecules all joining up. And when this happens, so they start linking up. So they're going to start linking up. The OH and the H are gone. The OH and the H are gone. Iska bhi H end pe chala gaya. The OH and the H are gone, and so on. So this is the only thing that's left now. And they'll now start linking up. So we're going to start drawing these linkages between them. और वो linkages इस तरह होंगे कि these two join up, these two also join up, these two join up. ये end पे किसी के साथ जोड़ है. This joins up with someone else at the end, ठीक है? So that's known as a polyester. Okay, you had this molecule, and now a polyester molecule has been formed. And this is known as an ester link. Ester link is serial bond O and O. That's what your ester link looks like, which is why it's called a polyester. ठीक है, तो polyester का याद रखना है कि polyester एक molecule है, और polyester की तरह ना there's another one which is polyamide. ये वाला clear है सारों को? All you have to do is remember this. Remember the exact thing that's going on. The reason they call it condensation is that every time a water molecule is produced. और फिर ये कि that is polyester, और ये होता है कहाँ पे use fabrics और fats भी ना जो आपके they're type of polyester, not exactly a polyester, but they do have polyester links. Fabrics में जो use होता है ना, that's known as terylene. ठीक है, बल्कि अक्सर उसको टेरिलीन ही कहते हैं. So polyester के कपड़े वगैरह होते हैं टेरिलीन fabrics, they use there. और एक और है, that's do the other one, that's polyamide. तो second वाला भी कर लेते हैं. The second one is a polyamide. अच्छा, polyamide में क्या होता है? Polyamide में होता है कि आपके पास molecule होता है, same कहानी, exactly same story. That you had a carboxylic acid, a molecule having carboxylic acid groups on both sides. And you have another molecule which has amines on both sides. Amines are NH2. And the molecules repeat endlessly. So here's one, and they're going to repeat. So they're going to repeat. और इनका भी बीच में वही होता है that the H and the OH, they start turning into water, which is why it's known as a condensation. The OH and the H and the OH and the OH, they all start getting condensed. And whatever is formed, it ends up forming a, so that ends up forming a polyamide. So I'm going to rub off all of these. ठीक है, इसका H चला गया, इसका water is gone. H and OH OH and H or H. और बीच में क्या होगा? बीच में अब now linkages would form. They would start joining up. This C would join with this N. This N would join with this C. C would join with N. ये आगे कहीं जुड़ जाएगा. This would join with someone over here. And that's a polyamide molecule. It's a big chain. It's like a thread. Because that's what plastics are. Plastics are like clothes. Clothes के अंदर वो threads नजर आ रहे होते हैं ना. So plastics के अंदर microscopic level के ऊपर, nanoscale के ऊपर, you'll have these very tiny threads, long chains. They're all entwined with each other. ठीक है? So अच्छा, polyamide, amide is this thing. You call this an amide. NH followed by a acyl bond O. So you've got NH followed by a. So that is what an amide link looks like. So that's what a polyamide is. ये दोनों याद रखें. Condensation polymers, polyester. The second one is polyamide. Is this clear? और आपसे question exactly इसी तरह आएगा. Clear, Subhan? Zainab, Wasa, Hamza.
Yes, sir.
और इसकी examples ये हैं कि you've got nylon. Nylon जो होता है, you use it for fishing nets. And there's so nylon is used for fishing nets. Kevlar जो है ना, that's ये Batman का जो suit है, that's made out of Kevlar. It's a bullet. You make bulletproof jackets out of it. So it's a really strong thing. और एक और है कि इसकी एक और version है, that's proteins. So proteins are very similar to they are polyamides, except that they're made from amino acids. The monomers are different. So except that they're made from amino acids. What is basically, you're going to get the same thing, exactly same thing at the end, except that the starting molecule is going to be different. This one is made out of a dicarboxylic acid. And a diamine. So that one is made from amino acids. Amino acids क्या होते हैं? Amino acids are things that look like this. Okay, they'll have a molecule that will have carboxylic acid on one side. So वो एक ही monomer के अंदर ना, it's going to have both things. That's why they're known as amino acids. क्योंकि amine और acid group दोनों हैं इसमें. और इसमें भी वही होगा. You'll have the same thing repeating over and over again. जिस तरह के ढेर सारे monomers. और बीच में ना OH और H, OH और H. ये आप remove करते जाओ. And when you remove these, they'll all link up. So all of them are going to eventually link together. तो ये बीच में से ना OH और H, OH और H. अच्छा, OH or H. अच्छा, they would be gone. And you start connecting them. So you just see little bond over that will get connected to an N. They're no longer amino acids क्योंकि वो change हो गए. अच्छा इधर एंड के ऊपर you'll draw these continuation bonds it's still continuing. So these two are kind of exactly the same. You can see that it also has an amide link. It's acetyl bond O with NH, acetyl bond O with NH, acetyl bond O with NH. So it's got the same amide link except that the starting point was different. So just a quick recap of condensation polymers. You had polyesters, जो कि टेरिलीन, फैब्रिक्स, फैट्स वगैरह. उसके अंदर मोनोमर्स क्या होते हैं? You have a diol. Yani there's going to be a molecule that has OH groups on both sides, and it's going to have a di carboxylic acid. और वो सारे लिंक अप हो जाएंगे and that will lead to ester links in the middle. Polyamides क्या है कि you'll have monomers which are dicarboxylic acids and diamides. There's going to be a molecule that has NH2 on both sides. There's going to be a molecule that has carboxylic acid on both sides. बीच में से water remove होता जाएगा. They'll start linking up, forming a big chain. And proteins are going to be polyamides as well, except for one tiny difference, and that difference is they're made from amino acids. कि वो एक ही molecule होगा, not two different molecules. Over there, you had two different molecules. One having carboxylic acid on both sides, one having amines on both sides. Now you had, it's the same molecule having both groups. तो इनमें वो link वही बनता है, ठीक है? So I'm going to give you this thing. इसको मैं और fill up कर दूंगा. इसमें ना वीडियो के लिंक्स भी डाल दूंगा. तो मैं इसी के अंदर ना उन टॉपिक्स और वीडियोस के लिंक्स ना I'll add it over here. So just a second. तो ये मैं भेज रहा हूँ. ठीक है, इसको मैं फिल अप करके ना I'll post this in a while. ठीक है, सारा का सारा ऑर्गेनिक का क्लियर है सारा.
Yes, sir.
अच्छा एक हमने एडिशन पॉलीमर्स बना लिए थे और ये फिर ना मैं भेजता हूँ. I'll try कि इवनिंग के अंदर भी ना I'll do a past paper session. ठीक है, अभी मेरी एक और क्लास है तो I'll try कि इवनिंग के अंदर भी ना आज हम एक पास पेपर सेशन करें. उस तब तक ना मैं ये पूरा कंप्लीट करके ना I'll लिंक तो आपके पास आ गया, ठीक है, इट विल बी देयर. तो मैं थोड़ी देर में ना ये आपको भेज भी दूंगा. ठीक है, चलिए ठीक है, लेट्स कंटिन्यू नेक्स्ट टाइम. ठीक है, ओके, अल्लाह हाफिज.